Let's take a look at Crow's Nest hole 5. It's called Top of the World. And I imagine at one point it was, but now I'm pretty sure that distinction belongs to a mountain in Northern Lights. But in any event, my play here, like a lot of holes, is kind of wind dependent, but I lean towards the forehand play, which is, I'm probably in the minority on that. But it's a play I picked up from Orange Pie Alex, one of the OGs of the game. I learned a lot from his videos early on when I started. And I like the forehand play, particularly in winds like this, out of the right, blowing down the mountain. I think if you're not careful with the backhand, you can easily end up in these trees behind the basket, even maybe OB. There's an OB line back there. So, with the elevation and the wind combined, I think it's just really easy to blow past the basket with the backhand. And so, in this wind, and most winds, it's kind of my default, I switch to forehand. I use the accurate Windbreak Musket. I slide to the right. I put the bottom chevron on that tree. And then I go, depending on the wind, at least one disc worth of hyzer. With this 3 wind, I'm going to go a little touch more than that, about to here. Let's see how this works out. And over the course of the last couple of years, this has been my predominant play, and I have found it to be pretty good. So 37 feet, I'm not going to bother throwing that in. So that's my play most of the time. Now, if there's a strong wind from the left coming up the mountain, if you will, then I will switch to the backhand. So let me get that wind and I'll be right back. Okay, so we got the 3 wind now coming from the left, blowing up the mountain. And here I would go with the accurate Windbreak Musket on the backhand and pretty much straight at the basket. I might come a little bit right and then just straight back. And that seems to work pretty well in that wind. Temptation again is to go a little long, but usually sits down pretty nicely. So I also reached out to a couple other players. I reached out to Zen the Zenny, Sage Man, and Musket Balls. Asked them what they're throwing because I've been stuck on the forehand mode forever. And Zen the Zenny told me this is what he throws. He uses the accurate roll or river, and he aims at that tree right there and then does a straight back on the backhand. And he really likes this line. He says it does hit this tree occasionally, but I can see why he likes that line, and he's a very good player. So that's another option. And Sage Man and Musket Balls both like the accurate roll musket, which I tried and just couldn't get used to. But they go accurate roll musket on a backhand, aim point about here, and then straight back. And that seems like a pretty good option too. A little bit further out, but that was a pretty adverse wind. So that's the options I have for this hole. There's also an ace run with the accurate Windbreak Musket. I'll show you the closest I got with that. I went at it for longer than I care to admit, because I've only aced it twice, and I couldn't get the ace, but I got close. So I'll show you that video now. So this works best with the 2 wind out of the left. Take the accurate Windbreak musket, straight to basket. It's that simple. It just comes up with short most of the time, but it's pretty close, as you can see. Alright, and that's a look at crow's nest, hole 5. I hope you learned something, picked up a couple options maybe, and we'll see you around the valley.